and welcome to Scarlet Serpent readings. Thank you so much for joining me for today's Timeless Pick a Card reading, which is a special collaboration where we will be looking at all aspects of self, more specifically mastery over the mind, body, and spirit. And I want to thank Tarot Yogi and Dap Universal Tarot for the opportunity to do another collaboration, because I've worked with both of them before, and they're both outstanding readers, honestly. Definitely like pioneers, very innovative in their way of presenting readings, and just the things they're doing, it's remarkable. So I'm very excited, and I'm going to have a link to their channels in the description. But so let me see if I remember. I should have wrote this down. Whoops. Dap Universal is going to be diving into the mind and how you are mastering your mind at this time. And then Tarot Yogi is going to be going over how you are mastering your body at this time. And so with me here today, I'll be looking at how you are mastering your spirit. And spirit being kind of like an interesting part of the equation, it's a bit more abstract. It's harder to gauge that sense of mastery, and so of course your definition of what spirit means to you will be different from person to person based on your experience. But for the context of this reading, it's really it's a life force, the life force that governs your will to move, and it gives you energy, really. And we'll dive deeper into what that means depending on which pile you choose. So I'll get into that now, actually. So we have 3 piles for you to choose from. Pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. And so I'm going to go ahead and leave a still image, so if you need some more time to look at the cards and decide which pile is right for you, you can go ahead and pause the video now. But otherwise, I'll see you at your reading. Hi, pile 1. If you chose this card, this is going to be your reading on how you are mastering your spirit, a collaboration between myself, Tarot Yogi, and Dap Universal Tarot. So don't forget to check out their portion of the reading that's going to be in the description. But here, as we're talking about spirit, this card actually represents your spirit at a deep level. We'll take a look at that, but I also have another card which is under it, which represents your relationship to your spirit. And that's, depending on how you see or understand those terms, it might be a little weird, but by relationship, I mean, I guess your awareness, your interaction with spirit, your own spirit, as opposed to, because spirit is you regardless. But yeah, let's take a look at this card. It says, go with the flow, paddle on. So you do feel very connected to your spirit, and the nature of your being is transformation. I think that goes very easy. Well, I don't want to say necessarily easy for you, but something that you've gotten used to, that you've adapted with very well, especially with this dragon being a dragon of transmutation. You see gold and silver violet flame dragon. It says, transmute the old around you with wisdom and grace. It's a time for transmutation, magic, and healing. And then go with the flow has that same energy. So I wouldn't be surprised if you had significant mutable signs within your chart. Because that's the nature of your spirit, is like, I would imagine your spirit being a flame. Well, I guess everyone's would be, but this flame, in order for it to be maintained, it requires that you transfer it into different jars, into different containers with, I guess, a different volume of air, so that the flame can kind of move, because that movement. And I just met with someone not even 30 minutes ago, and we had a short conversation about how it's almost like being stale. The lack of movement and the lack of change is death. It's death. It's stale. And I think your spirit really wants to not only change environment, but change in a very deep sense. And I think that's also reflected in the interactions that you have with people, like who's coming in and out of your life, and how are those people reflective of the change that you want to see within yourself. But let's go ahead and get into the main part of the reading, which is how are you mastering your spirit? How are you mastering your spirit? It does feel as though this pile is very advanced as far as ascension, as far as enlightenment. You're very much aware of the underlying currents that drive you, the underlying passions and desires that make you want to move forward. What's interesting is that although there is a current, this person is still paddling, and just because things aren't going the way you want them to, it doesn't mean that you'll just allow that to be. There is a bit of fight in you, I would say. But let's go ahead and continue. I'll just do 4 cards, I think, for now. So we have the Ace of Cups, 6 of Wands, 8 of Swords, and Page of Wands. This is a reflection of your mastery of really yourself and your spirit. And I do get a very strong sense that you just like new opportunities, that lights you up. And it doesn't even have to be a big drastic change. Like, it's just taking a new route to work or to school or what have you. And I think the relationship that you have with your spirit, that spiritual awareness, has been up and down. I think once you realize that was a part of you that needed to be maintained, looked at, understood a bit more fully, that's when your spiritual journey began. And that beginning is exciting. It really lights you up, and I think in a sense you've attained this level of mastery fairly quickly. I think your spirit team is extremely proud of all the progress you've made, and they are constantly protecting you, protecting your spirit from other people, because as one would expect with the violet flame, it just draws a lot of more dense energies towards you. And I just, like, as a reminder of being protected by your spirit team. And I think part of your mastery is also protecting your own spirit, your own desires, and kind of creating personal boundaries and space between almost like a dull, mundane spirit that might be drawn to you, because I do see that your energy is very unique, and it's royal and regal, and just this color combination is gorgeous. Gold and violet, I love it, and I could see how that would make you sometimes feel a bit stuck and tied down to the mundane world. But that's been part of your journey. Your lesson is that the current, the river can't always be moving as quickly as you'd like, or in the direction that you'd like. And that's been, I think, for some of you, a little bit of a struggle. Is you enjoy movement and big, bold changes, and when those things aren't happening, it might feel like you feel disconnected from yourself. We do have the Page of Wands here with the bird. Look at that. And I'm just going to go ahead and do another row of tarot, but have you mastered your spirit? Yeah, we have the Fool card. Nine of Swords. So I'm noticing a few patterns straight away. Underneath we have the Queen of Cups. So strong water placements. I think your spirit mastery has a lot to do with your emotional body, and I'd be curious as to how this would connect with your mind and body as far as spirit, because I think there obviously is like a communication between those three, but I think for this pile, this would be kind of the loudest element, is the spirit, is almost an impulsiveness to be wild and free. And as soon as you're even around people who contrast that, it gets really heavy very quickly. And I would suggest paying attention to how your mind quickly shifts from that, because we have 3 source cards, right? And 2 of them are pretty heavy in terms of energy. And so the thing that's interesting with this Ace of Swords and the Page of Wands is that when you're feeling invigorated spiritually, that's when you got a lot of ideas. But if you are caught in a loop, it almost gets even stronger. So as with the 8 of Swords, you would get Jupiter and Gemini. It's kind of expanding that mind and creating an influence or illusion of being stuck when it really isn't the case. But movement is it's everything for you. And I think part of your mastery is coming to terms with that's who you are, even when the world around you doesn't seem to follow by your own rules or by your own feelings. And it happens where people try and convince you that this is the way the universe is, or the world is, or if you've met those people who are just all shoulders, they're just like, well, what can you do? I don't know. I could imagine that almost triggering you as you might be tempted to say, oh, just turn over then and give up, because I don't know, that's not who you are. You don't like being stuck. You don't like accepting reality as it is if you feel it could be different or better. So there's like this, it's like a bull, this curiosity to you. And again, I could almost see this as physical discomfort when there's too many people around you. I don't know how many of you in this pile are claustrophobic, but that's what it kind of feels like if you're in a city, or even if you were living in a dorm, or whatever job, depending on the physical environment of it, you might get a bit uncomfortable just because you're attracting souls who have lost their passion for life, and that constant contact with that type of person can feel like it bogs you down. Of course, you have the energy and protection to be able to transmute those energies around you, and I think as you continue transmuting those people around you who come and go into your life, I don't think they stay for that long, generally speaking, but at the same time, it gives you strength and confidence in knowing that you're here for that purpose, not just to change other people's lives, but to give life to the planet, really, through your experience. Look at this. We have fire. Yeah, this is a very passionate group. What's also interesting is we have the triangles facing up. Looking at, like, the pyramids, this shape of power. And so more so than potentially any of the other piles, I'd say work with your solar plexus, expand it. That's your connection with your spirit. And I think you've done that work. Oh, what's interesting as well is the blindfold. Actually, this isn't blindfold, but actually let's look at all these, because I'm just noticing that their eyes were either covered or closed. And I think that goes to show your mastery of spirit. Your spirit, I should say. I don't know if you could see them. Eyes are closed or looking down. Covered. Closed. Covered. You navigate the world through spirit, through that feeling, this it's hard to fool you. I think it's very hard to fool you. The thing that happens though is that, again, you might feel into someone else's thought patterns, or in this case, like their spiritual energy, which might be a bit dull. And I think initially, in the beginning part of your spiritual journey, you might have confused that for your own energy. I think over time you've been able to kind of distinguish your spirit with the spirit of others, and I think doing meditations, rituals, kind of cleansing has helped made that even more clear, the line between you and the people around you. But you have a very big, very bold energy. You want to do big things, and you're not willing to make yourself small for other people, and that's the way it should be. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end the reading there, 1313. Don't forget to check out the other two parts of the collaboration with Dap Universal and Tarot Yogi, with Dap was mind and Tarot Yogi doing body. So hopefully you enjoy those. It was a pleasure, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Take care. Hi, Pile 2. If you chose this dragon, this is going to be your reading on how you are mastering your spirit, a part of a collaboration between myself, Tarot Yogi, and Dap Universal Tarot. So don't forget to check out their portions of the reading in the description for mastery over mind and body. But here we're focusing on spirit, and I wouldn't be surprised if this pile felt that their connection to the mind is particularly strong, given that you chose the air dragon, and this card represents your spirit itself. So freedom, flight, movement, very powerful thinking. And I think it says helps you rise above earthly matters, communicate honestly, brings inspiration and hope, see life from a higher perspective. And the card that represents your relationship to your spirit is the number 27 with Metatron Rainbow Bridge, always open, with the wings. So I guess unsurprisingly, and this might be the case with pile 3 as well, but your connection to your own spirit is very strong. I see I could imagine it being like there's this constant communication, that check-in with yourself, journaling being very powerful for you, but having a dialogue, I think, is where your spirit mastery comes into play. Is kind of you bring your mental fortitude into your spiritual work, really. And we're gonna get some tarot cards first, but I'd say that you have very strong air sign placements, and again, you use these channels to put the desire and, excuse me, I hope that didn't make a noise, whoops. But the expression of spirit is very important for this pile, and I think that's something you've been working on, is being concise and deliberate, and expressive with your spirit specifically. And that could have been a bit of a struggle, right, where you might confuse the mental body for the spirit because there's a lot of noise, but when you've learned to clear your mind, and then there's like I don't know if this is the case, but with Mercury in kind of like Aries or Sagittarius or something like that, where when there's a passion, a spark in what you're saying, that's how you know that it's coming from your spirit. And that communication, again, has been increasingly important over the years. But let's go ahead and see with the tarot, how are you mastering your spirit? We have Justice. I think that goes for balance within yourself, in being logical versus feeling free. What's interesting though with this pile is that we're getting a lot of major arcanas, and so that tells me this pile is very much advanced. Probably an old soul, or at least you have the personality of an old soul. You have that level of mastery, with justice being balanced with Libra, and again, having the air dragon kind of confirms a very, very strong, powerful mind that has already achieved a level of mastery. And then we have the Hanged Man with Neptune, and kind of this, like with Neptune being almost a little aloof, a daydreamy pile, and there's a bit of that balance, right, between a more practical dragon, air dragon, very simple, but connected to the earth in a way. And then we have the Rainbow Bridge, which is more celestial in nature. It's more, I was going to say spiritual, heavenly, but it's balancing the daydream for reality. And I think part of what makes you so powerful with your spirit is that you know how to take bits and pieces of your heart's inspiration, this desire to experience something wild and fantastical, and then the mind's logic kind of organizing it and grounding it into reality. But the moment that you lean too much on one side or the other, that's when either the mind overtakes the spirit, where you don't give yourself permission to be free, to express your freedom. And then in the opposite end, it's just daydreaming and playing too much pretend and not grounding it into reality. What's interesting, now that I said grounding it, we have the Empress, which is this, just look, the Venus, very beautiful, majestic. I think this pile is very attractive. This would be the attractive pile. Well, attractive in a different way, because pile 1 was technically attractive. If you were drawn to it, you might want to check it out. But it's like you treat your spirit as though you're leading an army or a country or just a collective almost. You've become, and that's why I think I say like the maturity comes from, is you're very responsible for your needs of mind, body, and spirit. And in a lot of ways, I can see these 3 cards as representing that absolute mastery that you have with body, with mind, and with spirit. I mean, some would argue that the Hanged Man is not really a spirit card, but it is a card of sacrifice. It is a card of, even though you have the desire to move quickly, it's very inherent for you. Your mind needs to be quiet before it can make a rational decision. And I think you're very good at observing. That's part of your mind being at work. I'm talking a lot about the mind, but I think your spirit is expresses itself through the mental body a lot more than one would expect. What's also interesting is that I only chose 3 cards for this one, so I'm going to keep it at 3. 3 reminding me kind of, with the Justice card, with the 3 of Swords, this deliberate focus and concentration. But yeah, let's go ahead and get a couple more clarifying cards. 9 of Pentacles. And the 9 of Pentacles tells me the same thing. This responsibility for yourself. You put yourself first, and I think that's something that you've learned to do over the years, that people come and go into your life, that there's a lot of promises and hope that comes from other people, but I don't know if this has been the case where you've been let down, severely let down. But at the end of the day, you are born alone and you die alone, and your relationship to yourself has become increasingly important, and part of that relationship is listening to the spirit, to your spirit, to where your heart wants to go, to what you want the world to be for you, and to let that be your guiding light. So you follow your own rainbow. but it's with balance again. And we even see that in this card, where one of the pillars has all of the pentacles and the other one is almost barren, almost empty. And you'll notice that, I don't know. I just drew a huge blank right there. My apologies, but let's continue. So that was clarifying the Justice card. Then we have the Moon underneath the Hanged Man. And just again, with all of the major arcana being here, you just have a very big energy, and I think you're careful with how you direct that energy, because you know that whatever it is that you choose to specifically say or think has a huge impact on your world and the people around you. And I think a big part of your journey is understanding your subconscious, connecting to this part of you that you can't really control, but you can listen to, that you can form a relationship with. And I think that's a big part of your strength, is you're very comfortable with the shadows, with your shadows. And in being comfortable with your shadows, you could understand the darkness in the world in general. And it allows you to be very fair, but also act as sort of a karmic being, where if someone crosses you, they're gonna get it. And not by you punishing them directly. It's the universe that's going to reflect that dishonesty in their experience. We have the Five of Wands underneath the Empress, and I do want to get another card for that, so that's what's gonna happen next. I'm just gonna get one more tarot card for the Five of Wands. Okay, it's as soon as I thought it, the card came out, so I guess it makes sense. But I think with the Empress being there, I could imagine people fighting for you. And here's the thing, though. I think that for most of you, you just prefer solitude because things make more sense when you're alone. And that's when you can, instead of connecting with these people, you can connect with your shadow self. And that's where a lot of insight and wisdom comes from. But at the same time, part of the balance is, you know, giving to others, giving your time to others, your attention, your focus. Because as someone who's achieved this level of mastery, which again feels like very advanced, like an old soul, part of the burden, if you will, is connecting back to earth, is to be a part of the mundane world, while you prefer more fantasy. But I think a big part of your spirit is how can you bring as much of this fantasy, this, again, fantastical, dreamlike experience that you have within your mind into the 3D. And that's been a big part of your journey, I think. And it's reflected on the experience, and I think in the energy that people see in you. They probably see you as almost like a fairy-like creature, where you don't seem real. That's that Neptune. Look. Concealed. Ooh. You're very protective of yourself, of what you allow people to see. That's the Moon, that's the Hanged Man, that's that deep spiritual work that nobody needs to know about. That's not their business. But it's... what's the... There's a quote. I'm going to butcher this quote very badly, so I have to apologize, but you can only reach as high as the roots are deep. You got it. That's that Moon connecting to the earth. And in that sense, I think I'd also be very curious, and of course leave a comment. Let us know kind of I guess what pile you chose for this reading and how it relates to the other piles and the other readings, because I could also see while your mind is very strong and your spirit has a good relationship with the mind, I would also imagine kind of the body area being almost like square, where there's potentially a bit of conflict, a bit of dissonance between those elements and the body, but also that's where you have a very deep power. It's like your body has a secret code, and the more you can understand the signs that your body has for you, the more balanced you would be in your earthly experience. But overall, very powerful energy. Overall, you take the time to connect with your spirit, to listen to your spirit, and to express your spirit's desires into the world. And people are drawn to it, inspired by it, and look for guidance just by being around you. But I'm going to go ahead and end the reading there. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to check out the other parts of the collaboration with Dap Universal Tarot and Tarot Yogi. It was a pleasure working with them, and thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you in the next reading. Take care. Hi, Pile 3. If you chose this card, this is going to be your reading on your mastery of your spirit as part of a collaboration between myself, Tarot Yogi, and Dap Universal Tarot. So don't forget to check out their portion of the reading. It's going to be in the description if you want to connect how you're mastering your mind, your body, and your spirit. With this dragon, the golden solar dragon, this actually represents your spirit. Of course, it's one card. It's not gonna it's not the entirety of your spiritual understanding is in this card, but this is a pretty good representation of it. There is a connection between this and another pile. If you were drawn to or considering, you might want to check that out. But it says, helps you stand in your masculine power with wisdom. Let your DNA be reprogrammed and light codes activated. Become an inspired leader. Oh, yeah, I had mentioned that solar plexus expanding meditation. I think that would be something that you might want to use for connecting to your spirit and expanding it and making it stronger, because you do have a very vibrant spiritual energy. It's big, it's warm, and it attracts a lot of people. But let's see, I have another card that represents your connection to your spirit, and it says priorities, building blocks for life. I'm going to go ahead and grab another card, but I am noticing a pretty strong connection to one of the other piles, so let me know if you know what that is, but no worries if you don't. I'm imagining Pink Floyd. I'm also seeing the two wings, so dragon angelic energy is very strong, and then of course the color orange is very powerful for you. I do think that with this card, the priorities card, it shows me that you prioritize your spirit, but that might change depending on the situation. But you're someone who actually cares for your desires, what your heart is trying to push you or pull you to do, and that matters to you, you know. I'm imagining this pile being less likely to go through the motions in a job that really isn't satisfying them just because it pays the bills. It's like there's a very deep longing, and although you might need to stick with a particular relationship or something like that just to get through a certain level of attainment so that you can actually move forward, I feel like you'd be less willing to go through that, just because life is short and you never know how quickly that could all come to an end, and how meaningless it would be if you're living a life that isn't aligned to your spirit. It just doesn't make sense to you. We have the King of Pentacles. Oh, and these tarot cards are representing your spiritual mastery. How are you mastering your spirit? Okay. So this golden solar dragon, it said, helps you stand in your masculine power, right? The first two cards I have are kings. And I guess the official title of this collaboration is Three Kings. So I just think that's pretty cool that it's showing up. Definitely a lot of masculine energy in the collaboration, but with this pile specifically. And maybe you feel as though your spirit is mostly masculine, and I mean that these terms don't really matter all that much, but I'm saying that because maybe you feel the connection, your body and your mind would be more feminine, where it's more receptive of you receive more information through the mind. You're not someone who talks more than you have to. On the contrary, your spirit is very expansive. I could almost see it igniting other people's energy. It's like a scorching effect, a wildfire. And with priorities being here, I think you are particularly careful with how you direct this energy, because it's incredibly strong. And you also look at the Six of Pentacles. Yeah. Mindful of how much you give to others, and making sure it's very important for you to give back to yourself in that same way. You know, you wouldn't give all Six Pentacles to someone else and then end up with nothing. The same thing goes for your energy, for the time you give to others. I don't know, I could imagine, maybe one more card? No, three. But I could imagine maybe earlier on in your spiritual journey feeling a resentment towards other people for giving yourself to them too often, where and it's almost like if family makes you feel guilty, that's such an ugly thing to do. To make someone feel guilty, I mean, just in general, it's terrible, but for not spending time with someone else or whatever, and then the worst part being when you do take the time, the energy to be with someone, this could be for a company or a job, you take the time out of your weekend to go to a thing, and then they're immediately asking, okay, when are you coming back, or when's the next time? It's like they want to keep you on a leash because you provide this warmth. And part of your transformation, your journey, and your mastery of spirit is that wand. It's putting the boundaries up and saying, hey, look, I know that I have this kind of value that I am willing to give, but there is a limit to that. Because once I give too much, the resentment kind of crawls in, and you just can't function at the same level as a king or queen would. This royalty has a responsibility to not only themselves but to their families, their community, and that's where they're also giving. But at the same time, you know, even if it is family, even if it is a community, I think you take a lot of pride in knowing where home base is, knowing that at the end of the day you have to take care of your body, of your spirit, and that feels like it's a big priority for you. I could also imagine, wow, it's crazy. Just as I was saying, you could make things happen, and then we have the Chariot with the King of Pentacles, I think your fire spreads in a way that strongly influences others. And so when you're in a good mood, that mood quickly goes to other people around you. And the opposite can also be true. And that's part of the reason why you place heavy importance on the way that you feel. I mean, you can't always feel good every day, but that vibe that you give off, you take responsibility for it, because you know that it can create a current, a momentum that allows you to move forward with ease, or create obstacles that aren't necessary. You have the Nine of Pentacles showing up again. We're getting a lot of pentacles, so I'd be curious as to what this pause relationship is like with body. And of course, you can go ahead and check out Tarot Yogi's part of the collaboration. And it's interesting, depending on what pile, I could already see it, where your connection to spirit is one thing, and then the mind connection might be weaker or stronger, and then the body would be weaker or stronger. I'm seeing that your connection to body is very strong. Of course, it's a general reading, so take what resonates, but the problem with that is that people know that you have, first of all, probably attractive again, but can be seen as a resource for others. And the thing is, with this being a spirit reading, I could see that your presence is a resource for, it's like even companies, even jobs, or whatever the situation is, or if you, let's say, do coding or something like that, people might gravitate towards you, but they don't know why. They don't know why, but at the end of the day, you lift their spirits. But as a king, again, there's only so much that you can do and so much that you can give to others, and at a certain point, it isn't your responsibility anymore. I'm going to go ahead and pull a couple more cards. We did get the Page of Wands, though. So more of that fire. But oh, yeah, we're going to clarify these two. Clarify the Nine of Pentacles with the High Priestess and the Ten of Cups. And Three of Pentacles at the bottom. Seeing a connection to one of the other piles here. Put High Priestess underneath the Nine of Wands. Although your spirit appears to be, anyway, very masculine in its influence and exertion into the world, the maintenance of it, the intuition, comes from your divine feminine. It's the feminine part of you that knows when enough is enough, when it's time to pull back and retreat a little bit. And you might feel, or you might have felt at some point, that you don't need to that often, but I think over time you've realized, even though you have an immense amount of energy, it still needs recharging. And the way it recharges is, interestingly enough, connecting with others. But the big thing is that these other people have to be within the same vibration as you, otherwise it'll feel like a burden that you're pulling people along the ride, and it feels like dead weight sometimes. So connecting with those who are either on a spiritual journey, or at least they're not that necessarily follow psychics or tarot or anything like that. It's more of they listen to their heart and they place value on things that make them happy. Let's get an oracle card to close out the reading. I was gonna say something and I forgot. Whoops. Actually, let's grab one more tarot card for the Six of Pentacles. Page of Cups. I don't know, I could also imagine you taking inspiration from young people. It's like, I don't know if you work well with kids or if you have children of your own, but they provide a lot of this inspiration and a recharging energy and also a new perspective. And then it would take a more mature mind to take these ideas that come from a more childlike energy, or your inner child, if you will. But making a dream into reality takes, again, discipline, wisdom, and maturity. And that's something that you have in abundance. Although you've learned, it's been a journey, as I've said a couple times. But let's go ahead and grab. It's cold in here. That's why my voice is shaking. Yeah, it's. Sorry about that. We have memory, renewal, and meander. Meander's at the bottom here. I'll put that down. But we have renewal and memory. Renewal feels like something that you have to do for yourself, giving fuel, but also part of the reason why, again, people come to you is, in a way, it's like a realization that you could still comfort your inner child, that you could still give yourself permission to play and be free in a balanced way while still being an adult. Also imagine, where is it? Which one? Here. There's something with this pile and birds. I don't know what this means. That could be a way in which your spirit guide speaks to you, but even more likely, a reminder from your inner child. A friend to fly with and be free with and catch the dreams that you've once had. And I don't know, they can become a reality, and I think that's the biggest impact that you have in your spirit, is a relentless attitude of, making those things a priority, making your passions a priority, and showing the world what it would be like if everyone actually enjoyed the things that they did on a regular basis, if they actually lived in that high vibration energy, what life would be like, how much easier it would seem to those around you. And you do that just by being you. So hopefully you enjoyed this reading. Please let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe. Don't forget to check out the other part of the collaboration with Tarot Yogi and Dap Universal Tarot for the mind and body. But otherwise, I'm just curious to see how the readings connect. Please let me know. And I hope to see you in the next reading. Take care.